Sex, the love of it, the dogged, unashamed pursuit of it. Russell Brand's thing, the core of his act, an act which made him one of Britain's best-known comedians and actors. It saw him become the host of Channel 4's Big Brother spin-off.
Welcome to Big Brother's E-Forum.
One of the stars of BBC Radio. It even took him to Hollywood. Now tonight, off stage, it sees him accused of rape, sexual assault, controlling and abusive behaviour, uncovered in a major investigation by Channel 4 Dispatches, The Times and The Sunday Times.
That's right, comedian Russell Brand has been accused of rape and sexual assault by multiple women, and that's according to a multi-year investigation and a report put out by The Times and the UK's Sunday Times. Now, he's also accused of grooming and inappropriate behavior toward women he worked with. And we'll talk a little bit about whether it made sense to include some of these, allegations in a story having very serious allegations about rape included. But before we get to that, let's get to the exact details here. So on Friday, prior to this report coming out, Brand tried to essentially get ahead of the story by putting out a video of his own, denying the accusations, and I would argue making some excuses for why he's being attacked. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll detail the allegations.
I've received two extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play?
So he's really presenting himself as someone who's being targeted because of his anti-establishment takes, and more importantly, his suspicion toward the coronavirus vaccine, his negative commentary and coverage of the vaccine. So make of that what you may, but we're going to move on to the details and then you can judge for yourselves. I want to start off with a woman who's identified as Alice. That's not her actual name, it's a pseudonym that they used for her. Her allegations, I would argue, are some of the most serious. She says that she engaged in a sexual relationship with Russell Brand when she was 16 years old. Now in the UK, the age of consent is 16 years old. Here in the United States, in most states, it's about 18. In some states, it's as young as 16. But in the UK, it's important to understand that the age wasn't the issue here, even though I'm uncomfortable with an older man dating a 16-year-old. With that said though, it's not that they dated, it's what he did allegedly as they were dating. So he had approached her while she was out shopping. She was shopping at a store called Topshop. He bumps into her, looks at the clothing that she bought and basically said, "You're gonna wear this when you go out on a date with me," okay? And then this is what happened. Although Alice was over the age of consent in the UK, she and a family member both described Brand's behavior as grooming. Alice says he suggested how she could deceive her parents into allowing her to visit him, and claims that he gave her scripts on how to lie to them. She also alleges that he told her not to trust her friends and that they would all be looking to make money from it if she revealed she was seeing him. It was isolating, she said. Now, once Brand sent a car to her school to basically take her out of lessons and take her to his home, as her taxi approached Brand's home, Alice remembers the driver allegedly begging her not to go inside. She says the driver replied that his daughter was the same age and entreated Alice, "Please, I'm asking you not to go in there. You could be my little girl and I would want someone to do this for her." He offered to take her home without charge, but Alice insisted she was fine. He had such a sad look in his eyes, she recalls. Now, she was a virgin at the time. She also alleges that he was kind of obsessed with that, obsessed with her so-called purity. But now let's get to some of the violent allegations that she made, okay? Alice alleges that Brand forced his penis down her throat, and Channel 4 had an actor portray the woman recounting the assault. So what you're about to watch is not Alice herself, but an actress basically portraying or recounting the alleged assault. Let's watch.
I was pushing him away, and he wasn't backing off at all. And so I ended up having to punch him really hard in the stomach to get him off. And then he finally fell backwards, and I was crying, and he said, "Oh, I only want to see your mascara run anyway."
Okay, so there's more, Cenk. Other women, other allegations. What do you think about what you've heard so far?
Yeah, so first let me state, I don't know if this is a bias or not, perspective. So I interviewed Russell Brand back when he was a progressive and really liked him. Now he's taking a bit of a right-wing turn and a misinformation turn that I really don't like. I'm just telling you that in case it affects my opinion either way, okay? But I don't think that it does. I got no dog in this fight. So when I look at the information, first of all, I'm gonna say that I think that they putting tons of superfluous information in these charges is not helpful, okay? It's not helpful to the women's causes. It's not helpful if you wanna say that Russell Brand did these things, and there seems to be very significant evidence of that, which we're gonna get to in a second, okay? But like they had details like he raised his arms in the middle of intercourse as if he had declared victory or something. Why are we interpreting his arm movements in the middle of sex?
It dilutes
it. Dilutes it, exactly.
Yeah, it dilutes the serious accusations. I agree with you on that. In reading the reports, I feel like they mixed in a lot of stuff that kind of like buries the more serious rape allegations, which I think need to be the focal point.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's going to go to my main point in a second. But what they don't realize is how much it helps Russell Brand. So I mean, if he's guilty, as you're about to see some of the allegations, you don't necessarily want to help him, right? But here, when they say like he was more flirtatious in the beginning of the relationship and less so later. Okay, and I didn't like the way we broke up. When men read those things, they think, oh, he didn't do it, because that's what happens in a relationship. Now you're complaining about that. So those details are not helpful. They're the exact opposite. Okay, so now I will say why now is an interesting question, and that does not affect whether he did it or not. So we're gonna break those two things up into two different categories, okay? So first, let's give you the serious stuff, then we'll discuss why now.
Okay, one thing that I think is really important to keep in mind, especially if you're an American, if you're living in America, defamation lawsuits are very, very difficult to win in the context of the United States. They're far more easy to win in places like the UK. And I say that because this was a multi-year investigation. It didn't just pop up out of nowhere. And my sense is that the reporters in this case wanted to cross their T's and dot their I's because they know Russell Brand is likely to be very litigious on this issue, and they don't want to get accused of defamation or put themselves in a situation in which Russell Brand could win a defamation case against them. That is my read of it. But with that said, let me give you more details. Before we move off Alice's allegations, she also alleged that in a separate instance, Russell Brand removed the condom during sex without her knowing about it. And then she said that she decided to speak out because she now believes that she was too young to be able to consent to a relationship with an adult man. Now, again, there's the law, which indicates in the UK that 16 is the age of consent. And then there's how she felt about it. And she feels that she was too young to be able to consent to that relationship. Now let's move on to Nadia, another woman, another pseudonym, and I want to get to her allegations. Now, she met Russell Brand back in 2012, and they met in Los Angeles. They had consensual sex at first, but the following month, Nadia alleges that he assaulted her. Let's watch.
He pushed me up against the wall. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I have a friend here and I want you to come into the bedroom. I'm like, no, that's not happening. We're not doing that. And I tried to get away from him. And at this point, he's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off. And he has that glazed look in his eye again. I was very distraught, trying to get out of the house with him being so much taller than me, like holding me up against the wall, pushing himself in me. I couldn't move.
That same day, Nadia went to a local rape treatment centre to report what had happened. She underwent tests, was given antibiotics and emergency contraception.
I mean, that's documented. Okay, that's documented. So that's corroborating evidence. Nadia told a close friend what had happened. Her friend then took her to the rape treatment center at UCLA Santa Monica Medical Center that same day. So as you saw in the video, that was documented, but there's further corroborating evidence. So text messages show that in the hours after leaving his house, she told Brand that she had been scared by him and felt taken advantage of, adding, quote, "When a girl says no, it means no." Brand replied saying he was very sorry.
Yeah, so there he is on text. You can argue that that's confirming it. Yeah, I'm sure he'll argue in court if they ever go to court. No, I meant I'm sorry for other things, right, but not that. And some guys will think, well, they were in a relationship before. No, brothers, you do not get to rape a woman afterwards and go, well, we were at some point in a relationship. That's not how it works.
So let's get to the third woman, dubbed Phoebe, another pseudonym. And it's important to keep in mind, none of the women identified themselves through their actual names. So Phoebe claims that Brand sexually assaulted her while she worked with him in Los Angeles. She says she met Russell Brand at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting before they started working together, and that she had a brief relationship with him, which had ended by the time of the alleged attack, which allegedly took place in early 2013. Now, she was at his house working on a project when she realized that a member of his staff had gone out and the two of them were left alone. She describes being trapped in a bedroom and realizing that Brand wanted to have sex with her. He allegedly got naked and started chasing her. She claims he grabbed me and got me on the bed. She claims he tried to kiss her and remove her clothes as he pinned her down. Phoebe says, quote, "And I saw something come over his eyes, I swear to God, like black. His eyes had no more color, they were black, like the devil, like a different person literally entered his body," end quote. She was fully clothed at the time. "I was screaming and I was like, what are you doing? Stop, please, you're my friend. I love you, please don't do this. I don't want to do this." I think he had his hands down my trousers, but I was fighting so hard and I was screaming so hard, hoping that I could get through somehow. I don't know what the actual definition of sexual assault is, but it feels like that. He didn't rape me. She says that she kept begging him to get off her and eventually he relented, at which point she says he flipped and was super angry. Phoebe says Brand was shouting, "F you," and "you're fired." And she says she fled Brand's home in tears, stopping only to grab her shoes before running barefoot to her car.
If you're super mad at Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly, et cetera, that use their power in the office at Fox News to do this to women, obviously you should be at least as equally angry at Russell Brand if these allegations prove to be true. To which I would say the most important part to me is, okay, charge him. So charge him, prove it in court, and go get him. So that doesn't mean that I think, okay, I'm positive I know what happened in those rooms, and I'm positive that I would convict him if I was on the jury. No, they're gonna have to prove it in court if they go to court, right? And so the texts and the police reports are pretty devastating evidence, right? And the testimony of these women so far and some of the things that we've read you are clearly devastating. So now, why now? I think both things are possible. And so he did all of this stuff when he was a megastar, and as he pointed out, part of basically what is in essence mainstream media, right? So why didn't they investigate him back then? So one of the things that I looked at was, how did this whole thing start? And they explain in one of the stories, they say, reporters have been looking into him aggressively. Okay, I mean, I'd like to know more details. If the women came up to the reporters and said, I need this investigated, then yes, they should definitely do that, and they should be as aggressive as possible, etc. But if they went looking for women, that doesn't mean he didn't do it, right? But why didn't they go looking for women when he was a star on mainstream media, when he was actually doing these things? So
I think it's a moot point, honestly. I really do. I really think it's a moot point.
I don't think it's moot at all.
You want to know something? If you don't want to face terrible news reports and documentaries and potential criminal charges in regard to rape as an anti-establishment, firebrand, maybe don't rape anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
So Anna, I totally agree with you when it comes to individual culpability. So in the case of Russell Brand, it's moot as in, who cares? Did he do it or did he not do it, right?
Right, that's all that matters to me, at
but
least.
to me, there's a second component of the story that has nothing to do with Russell Brand. That has to do with how mainstream media reacts to certain stories. So if someone is in power and is making them money, they do not investigate them. They do not do that, okay? And if someone's annoying them or is an outsider or says things they don't like, all of a sudden, they said they went and talked to hundreds of women that he's been with and they got these 4, right? So that's why I'm asking, did the women come to you? In which case, great job on the reporting. I'm being like 100% great job, right? If they went and interviewed hundreds of women looking for 4 women or however many women that'll testify against them, that's weird. So, and I'm not worried about Russell Brand. I'm worried about, is this what they systematically do? And so, and I think that it's not a conspiracy, guys. It's not a conspiracy. There's no one, the deep state is not telling Channel 4 in UK. Which deep state, right? I don't want people to mistake what I'm saying. It's just that there's a group thing with editors. If someone is an outsider and has no power, let's go try to find something wrong with them. If someone is powerful and inside the system, let's not try to find anything wrong with them. In fact, if someone brings us something, be super skeptical about it. And you saw that with the allegations against Biden back in 2020. When there was
Cenk, but you're conflating US media with media in the UK, which works a little differently. I'm not saying that they don't ever use media in a politically motivated way, but the laws are different in the UK. Defamation laws are a lot looser in the UK compared to the United States. I just think that in this particular case, regardless of how the investigation by the reporters were spurred, this has been going on for multiple years. Apparently, Russell Brand's behavior has been an open secret for quite some time.
Then what? I agree with you. So
do you want them to do their due diligence or not?
No,
right?
no,
Because in the UK, what we have in the UK is reporters just throwing up any allegation they hear from anyone without doing their due diligence. The Aziz Ansari story is a perfect example. Aziz Ansari, the woman who went on a date with Aziz Ansari, went on a bad date. That's not rape. It's not. But during the Me Too era, our media here in the US tried to pass that off as if it's the equivalent of what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Yeah. It was disgusting, okay? So I would prefer a multi-year investigation where they corroborate the story, where they cross their T's and dot their I's, rather than just throw out this allegation without doing their due diligence.
No, no one in the world, is certainly not me, is arguing that they shouldn't have done due diligence. Of course they should. What I'm asking is the exact opposite question.
By the way,
hold on, let me finish the thought.
By the way, the investigation into this began before Russell Brand started questioning the vaccine. Just keep that in mind.
Okay, that's super relevant, by the way.
Super relevant.
Okay, but still an outsider, etc. Anna, what I'm saying, asking, hold on. What I'm asking is, if it was such an open secret that Russell Brand was doing this when he was a big star, why didn't you investigate then? Women didn't matter back then? No, he's making everybody money. You don't investigate him then. The minute he steps outside of the money-making machine, let's go get the son of a bitch. Right? So let's make up our minds. Do we care about it or don't we care about it? If you care about it, you should do it equally to everyone. So I don't know the intricacies of UK media anywhere near as well as I know American media. So I don't know what their situation is as much. And look, guys, it's a thorough, super detailed reporting of it. and they found something that is very bad and that Russell Brand should be held accountable for. Accountable means you try him and you see if you can convict him in court. Do you have enough evidence for that, okay? So good journalism on that. I'm not asking you to not do that journalism. I'm asking you to do that journalism when people are in power and you're scared of them and you're a little concerned about blowback. And so I don't know how they do it in the UK, but here in America, God forbid, no one in power, almost no one in power ever gets investigated unless they pissed off the establishment.